Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today I'm bringing you a side-by-side comparison between two of the top Android phones on the market, and that is the Galaxy S7 and the LG G5. Now between these two, they are really the best of the best, and we're going to see which one really is the best overall phone for you, and see which is the best in each category. Let's break them down and see which is the best smartphone on the market today. Now, when it comes to look and feel, this is kind of interesting because it really is glass versus metal, and people will have different preferences, honestly. With the S7, it's a very similar design to last year's S6, just a bit of a curved backing. So the front very much looks so like identical. The back, I have a sticker on mine, but as you can see, it's a very curved back. The black is actually black this time around, so you do get a nice, really good looking black. And the back is usually glass reflective. Just here's an edge so you can see the actual back. So really nice and beautiful in design. The G5 took a huge departure from last year's LG and really has a nice looking design. I don't like the back as much personally. I find this hump here to just not be as good looking, to be honest, as where the back on the S7 just, has a simple back, but it definitely looks nice with that camera hump now minimized, a little bit thinner compared to the camera hump on the G5. So overall, it's going to be up to you when it comes to a look and feel. Personally, I do like the S7 better in my hand, and it feels definitely better to hold in the hand in comparison to the G5. So for look and feel, I will say that it will go to the S7, although it's very close. Now, when it comes to web browsing, the very first thing we always take a look at is the pixels per inch on a phone. Now, for both of these two phones, you have a 2560 by 1440 display. However, you do have a 5.3 inch screen compared to a 5.1 inch screen. What does that mean? Well, it means that you have a 576 pixels per inch with a 554 pixels per inch. So the S7 does have a better pixels per inch ratio. However, you have to keep one big thing in mind when it comes to these two devices, and that is that with this, it's going to be over 500, so both are going to have amazing sharp pictures, especially compared to other smartphones on the market. So let's see how each one loads. Oops. Unfortunately, the G5 had a little bit of a ad that might have slowed it down as the S7 finished. But even with that, it seems like the G5 is taking a little bit longer, and it's still processing. So I'm not sure if the G5 just got stuck there. We'll refresh it just to make sure. With this, though, it is something that we saw fairly common on these two. The G5 always takes a little bit longer to load, it seems like, when testing these two out. There, it finally loaded. So let's go into moving. Now, it is important to note that both phones are using Chrome. The G5 comes stock with Chrome, as where the S7 comes with their own inner browser and Chrome. All right, and I don't believe we'll be able to do double tap, but let me try. Nope. Let's see if we can do it on this screen. No, unfortunately you can't on Chrome because it has you do the unfortunate, when you do double tap on Chrome, it unfortunately just zooms in. So overall, though, we do see a good movement on both phones, not much stuttering. Although it does seem to do a little bit better on the S7 on a usual basis. Both are great web browsers, so we'll call this one a tie since both web browsing capability should be good on both. All right, now we're going to test out the sound quality. So we have the mic right above these two phones, and keep in mind both phones' speaker placement is at the bottom. So neither one has ideal speaker placement, but we'll see just how good the sound quality is on both. We're going to go from the S7 to the G5 and then back and forth.
I'll be your hero, baby, if you let me. I promise I will be there for you in your time of need. In your darkest hour, on your brightest day, I will be there for you, baby, when you call on me. I'll be your hero. I'll be your hero. I'll be your hero. I'll be your hero. I'll be your Spider-Man, baby, kiss me upside down, feeling good, kiss me.
So overall, the speaker quality is going to be better on the G5. Not to mention when you plug in headphones, it definitely sounds better on the G5. So overall, the music quality will go to the G5. Now, when it comes to watching movies, you always want a beautiful looking screen. The LG G5 has a bit of an advantage having a 0.2 inches more bigger screen. However, the S7 does also have an advantage as it's an LED screen versus an LCD screen. Colors are more vibrant and a much brighter phone, especially when watching movies outside. So let's take a look and see how they do. So hopefully you could see that. It's actually a lot different in person as I'm seeing it through the camera. But in terms of the camera, you definitely see a much better quality on the S7. Again, it's always hard to show this because we're filming from a camera. But when seeing it with my eyes, it was like, oh, yes, it's a night and day difference. This is much better. But when seeing it through the camera, like right now on the camera, the G5 looks better red than the S7. However, what I'm looking at in actuality is not that. The G5 looks more dull, as where the S7 looks more vibrant. So it's different, but definitely in person, the S7 has to get it just for having a much brighter and more vivid screen compared to the G5. Now, when doing a camera comparison, we go over the four main topics that are really important to cameras. So we go over low light, detail, color reproduction, and of course selfies. All right, so in the first section, we actually have a little bit of a surprising difference. Now, I always like to make a point to let you guys know that I do only take one photo for each phone when taking it. So if it ends up being a little blurry, well, I say that's just what normal people would do when you take a photo. You don't normally take a look at it always to make sure it's clear. That being said, in this comparison, the S7 is a little bit blurry where it has taken better pictures than this in our other comparisons. However, going off of this picture alone, the G5 is going to have the better low light in this instance, just because when we zoom into it, we can see things like this tree a lot more clearly. And therefore, it's just going to have the better overall color as well. Whereas this one plays good with the color, this one kind of gets washed out by it. So in terms of the two, although I will say the S7 has the better asphalt color reproduction, it's definitely a warmer tone here. And overall, probably what most people would want in a low light photo. So for that reason, in the low light comparison, the LG G5 will win the low light. Now, when it comes to detail, we always take a look at exactly what parts we can see in this image. Now, in this image, Neither one did honestly particularly amazing, but again, we're going for the better one overall. So as we zoom in, we can see a distinct difference between some specific parts in this picture. That being said, the PS4 and PS4 section on both are relatively clear on both, but when you get to titles like Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat X, it's definitely sharper on the S7 on the right compared to the G5 on the left. Now, especially when you get to the PS3 titles, again, you see a much clearer PS3 logo all across the board. So overall, when it comes to detail, you're going to want to go with the Galaxy S7. And now indoors, we do see a color tint more warmer on the S7, whereas the G5 is perhaps underproducing color, which we're going to get to right now in our color comparison. So these are very two different photos, and really I feel that they're doing the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Whereas the S7 is giving you a much warmer color, the G5 is giving you a much cooler color. Now, the truth is, between these two, your colors are in the middle. There's not really one well represented here. Between the yellow and orange on the King of Tokyo, you're really getting an in-between. It's more yellow closer to this and not as dull in here. But when we go to the green on the Android, the LG is closer than the S7, although the LG isn't correct either. That's, again, a bit cooler than you actually see. The green is in between these two. Another really distinction is definitely in the yellow, whereas the yellow on here, very faded, and especially even the red right there, whereas the yellow on this love letter, more of a gold, definitely representing a different shade. So when it comes to these two in terms of color reproduction, I will call it a tie. Neither one represents color exactly as it should be, and the S7 goes too warm, whereas the G5 goes too cool. So this one will be a tie. And of course, last one we go to is the selfie comparison. Now when it comes to selfies, you definitely get a huge difference between these two and in multiple things. So the first thing we always take a look at is the background, just to see how well it does with light and dark. The left side is purposely left dark so that we can see how it does with graininess and fuzziness, and definitely the S7 is having a clearer shot there, as you can see with even the crack on the door, and you cannot see it on the G5. When it comes to upstairs, you see the railing is just really fuzzy and just definitely isn't handling the exposure as well. It's trying to overcompensate for it. Whereas the S7, although not perfect, definitely does a much better job of actually showing the detailing in the railing that you just can't see here, and it's definitely more in focus. Finally, when we get to the subject itself, you definitely get a wider shot with the S7 as comparing to the G5. As you can see the door on this side and one more step part on here, whereas you cannot see that on the G5. Overall, the selfie is definitely clear looking as well, and a great overall tone with the S7. Now, to be perfectly fair, since both have a front-facing flash, we did take one more selfie with that to see what the difference would be. And the front-facing flash definitely helps out the G5 with the crack now being visible on the door and the railing being a bit clearer. However, it greatly helped the S7 as well, even getting a sharper image, definitely more that you can see in the face without brightening it too much. So the G5 seemed to overexpose it when you have this side, whereas the S7 gives you a good representation of yourself, but not over whitewashing it more so. And definitely the railing even looks better and more accurate here than it did on the previous shot. So overall, if you're going to use the front-facing flash, it will help you out in different color lighting situations. However, the S7 just does seem to be the better overall for selfie taking. So that being said, let's go back to the beginning. The G5 took 1 point for the low light. The S7 took 1 point for detail. The color reproduction was a tie, one being a cooler tone and one being a warmer tone. and the selfie went to the S7. Overall, in a 2-to-1 points, it's going to be the S7 having the better overall camera between the two. Now, again, it does depend on what you're looking for in a camera, but with this, we do have a better overall looking camera with the Galaxy S7. Now, when it comes to gaming between these two, really you have the same exact processor, same exact RAM on these two devices, and same GPU as well. So really overall you're going to have the same exact gaming experience, and we have seen that for the most part. It is important to note that the S7 international version processor and graphics card definitely has played games much better compared to either of these two devices. So you have to take that with a grain of salt, but if you're buying it here in the US, you're much better off going with either device for your gaming because they're going to be playing games about the same. So gaming will be a tie. Now, when it comes to battery life, honestly, the G5 is definitely a really good battery when it comes to smartphones. Both of these have improved dramatically compared to last year's models. However, it still will be the S7 having a better battery life overall. There's a couple of reasons why. In our day-to-day testing, when we did have the G5 active, we noticed it did drain the battery quicker than the S7 and than some of our other Android devices we've tested. However, the main thing to note with this is that when we did use it, even during this test, as we started, they were both at 100%. The LG G5 is at 90, whereas the S7 is at 92. So it did drain 10% compared to 8% just during this testing. And you have to keep in mind of one other big factor in this, and that is that currently the SIM card is actually in the S7, so it has all of the mobile internet background going on, whereas the G5 does not. So with that being said, overall the better battery life seems to go to the Galaxy S7 comparing to the G5, although I have to stress the G5 does have really good battery life for every average user. Now, when it comes to the extras with these two devices, overall, it's really interesting. Both have expandable memory, and both have their own little extras. But the G5 is going to win it for two main reasons. And that is, although the water resistance and the wireless charger really are compelling reason for the S7, with G5, you have the fact that you can actually remove the battery, which a lot of people still want. And one of my old favorites that I was happy to see back on a phone that I'm using, and that is the IR Blaster. Honestly, even if I do not use the G5 for my daily driver, I always have this in the living room just to use the IR Blaster. It's something that Samsung should definitely take a look at bringing back because it's one thing that I definitely love about the G5 over the S7. So, for all in all, I know water resistance is big to some people, it's not big to others. It really depends on you. I would say that the extras should go to the LG G5. Now, when it comes to the price point, we always take a look at the size of the storage and what you're getting for the price point. Now, both of these have 32 gigs built in, so that made it pretty easy. However, when we go to the actual price point between the two, well, then we see a difference. For the LG G5, you're getting it at $629, and they are definitely giving a lot of offers away, as Samsung also did when it first came out. Right now, the LG G5 has a BOGO deal, or a buy one get one, at almost every carrier you can find it at. The S7 had this a lot when it first came out, so you have to keep that in mind too. It's just a launch bonus. But overall, between these two, I definitely will give it to the LG G5 because it is going to be a $40 price reduction comparing to the S7. So overall, you're going to have a lower price paying overall for the LG G5, which is definitely appealing. So if you want the best bang for your buck, it is going to go with the LG G5 being the lower price point for the same amount of storage. All right, let's tally them up and see who won. When it comes to look and feel, it's definitely going to go to the Galaxy S7. Just overall having a more appealing look and definitely just feels better in the hand. Feels that premium vibe to it. When it comes to web browsing, both are great for web browsing. You're really not going to notice too much of a difference. When it comes to sound quality, however, you will hear a difference with the LG G5 having a better speaker and definitely better headphone output. When it comes to watching movies, though, the S7, despite its slightly smaller screen, is going to be more vibrant, better quality, especially for outdoor viewing. When it comes to the camera quality, we did see a close match, but overall, the S7 is going to have the better camera quality for every category. When it comes to gaming, however, it's going to be an even bout, both having the same graphics card and processor, and both giving you the same gameplay. When it comes to battery life, the S7 is going to take it having a better overall battery compared to the G5, overall having about an hour difference when we tested it from start to finish. When it comes to the extras category, the G5 is going to have it with the removable battery and the IR blaster beating out the water resistance and wireless connection. When it comes to price, the LG G5 is $40 less for the same amount of storage, so it is the better bang for the buck. And tally them all up, by 1 point, the Galaxy S7 takes it. Yes, the Galaxy S7 wins it with its better look and feel, movie quality, camera quality, and battery life. However, if you do want a better music quality with a few more extras and a better price point, the G5 is definitely the way to go. Thank you guys for watching. Please give a like, thumbs up down below. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.